Single Dad discovered an incredible secret that transformed his deaf son's life in just 30 days. Jason's hands moved deftly over the metal of the old pickup truck, but his mind was miles away. The sounds of the wrenches clanking together punctuated the solitude of his workshop, a sanctuary where he could lose himself in routine, yet feel the weight of the world pressing against his chest. At 38, life had thrown him curveballs that felt relentless. Even amidst the sweltering summer heat, his thoughts swirled around 10-year-old Leo, the son born into silence. They shared a home, a bond that now felt like fragile glass, strained between the longing for deeper connection and the gnawing dread of their chasm widening further. Every day was a struggle. Jason could patch up old engines and troubleshoot mechanical failures like clockwork, but when it came to communicating with Leo, he felt utterly helpless. At the park, laughter echoed from children playing, while Leo sat alone, missing the camaraderie that pulsed around him. Jason's heart broke every time he saw his son retreat into his world, forced to watch through the glass of isolation. Then, one day, a flyer at Leo's school whispered of a summer program, a chance to bridge that silent divide with innovative storytelling-based sign language. Hope flickered, but quickly dimmed in the shadow of skepticism. The faculty's eyes spoke volumes, conveying unshakable doubt that seeped into Jason's bones. Would Leo really benefit? Would he thrive in the silent expanse of their communication? Despite the hesitation, the fire of determination ignited within him. Jason took on extra hours at the garage, sacrificing weekends, pouring every drop of sweat into affording the program. How could he let doubt win? As the weeks crawled by, he envisioned Leo's laughter mingling with the sounds of children, instead of drowning in solitude. But every structural creak in the garage mirrored his growing concerns. Was he pushing too hard? What if they never found that connection? On the day of orientation, he stood in a waiting room crowded with parents who spoke fluently in the language of hope, their children busily signing while he stood silent, an outsider among them. The rising tide of anxiety clutched at his chest as he watched the other children, their animated hands painting stories in the air, unsure if he'd ever be able to join them. That dreadful sense of inferiority bubbled, threatening to overwhelm him. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the program progressed, Jason found himself confiding in Miss Thompson, the teacher who sparked that flicker of hope. Each discussion peeled back layers of him he hadn't known existed. Yet, just as he began feeling the light of connection with Leo bloom, a whisper of prejudice cut through, igniting old fears. A neighbor's disdainful remarks about Leo's condition unearthed insecurities he'd fought hard to bury. Jason felt torn, propelled forward, yet dragged back into the shadows of doubt. With 30 days left, he was on the brink, overwhelmed with the challenge of protecting his son's dignity against a world that often refused to listen. What would he discover about himself when the truth pressed down hardest? Jason stood at a precipice, heart racing, decisions clawing for his attention. As Leo's laughter echoed in the air, an unexpected noise shattered the fragile peace. The noise, a sharp metallic clatter, echoed through the workshop, shaking the silence that had settled around Jason like a lead weight. He spun around, his heart racing, only to find Leo's curious face peeking through the doorway, his small hands gripping the frame. In that instant, everything coalesced into clarity. The anxiety that clawed at his chest was matched by an unexpected spark of hope as Jason realized he was not just a father watching helplessly, but a man who could change the narrative for both himself and Leo. "Dad, can I help you?" Leo asked, his expressive eyes gleaming as though he was eager to dive into the chaos of tools and metal. The invitation unspooled a rush of emotion within Jason. Their bond was frail but palpable, and here was an opening, a chance to cultivate it through shared experience. However, the specter of self-doubt crawled forward, asking if he was ready to expose Leo to the world of machinery, his own battlefield, where communication relied heavily on more than spoken words. "Of course, buddy, let's start with that tire," Jason said, motioning towards the flat he'd planned to fix. It was a simple task, but every small movement felt monumental. As Leo approached, Jason felt acutely aware of every gesture. The way he would need to sign simple instructions, provide visual cues, yet keep the tone light enough to maintain their playful interaction. The intimacy of the moment began to relax the knots in his chest. Working together, Jason started to sign the words for the tools as they moved through the tasks. "This is a wrench," he said, slowly, demonstrating with his hands. Leo's fingers twitched in response, an eagerness to learn igniting something between them that Jason had almost thought lost. Each time his son successfully signed a word back, Jason felt a piece of the heavy armor he wore crack, as light streamed in its absence. Days turned into weeks, and with Leo's enthusiasm guiding him, Jason felt his own clumsiness dissipating.
The garage transformed from a secluded hideaway into a vibrant space where laughter filled the air alongside the clinking of tools. They began to develop a routine, bonding in ways mechanical fixes could never capture. As Jason taught Leo about engines, he found himself. Their shared humor, the playful banter, the proud grins. For the first time in years, Jason glimpsed the man he wanted to be. Despite the progress, the neighbor's words still echoed painfully in his memory. Would the transformation they were experiencing be enough to protect Leo from the harshness of the world? The worry crept back at night, wrapping around him like a damp blanket. For every moment of joy, there was an undercurrent of fear that threatened to uproot their fragile growth. Protective instincts kicked in. How far could he go to shield his son from people's prejudices? Then came an unexpected epiphany. He recognized that the fear wasn't in their silence, but in the world's reluctance to understand. The reality of those judgments exists because of miscommunication and ignorance, not only about deafness, but about the bonds father and son were crafting. If Jason embraced this vulnerability, could it not catalyze change long after Leo's childhood? The final week arrived at the program. It loomed like a shadow, one that Jason tried to shake off, yet found inescapable. As the date approached, he faced a choice. Would he continue to shelter their newfound dynamic, or confront the world, flaws and all? The morning of the graduation ceremony dawned bright and clear. Jason stood at the door, his stomach a battleground of excitement and dread. Today would either reinforce their fragile connection or expose it to the harsh judgment he feared. Jason's determination surged. It was time to show Leo that beyond the silence, they could write their own story, one not dictated by the biases of others. As they stepped into the bustling room, surrounded by chatter and laughter, one thing became painfully clear. The moment of truth arrived. This was their time to let the world see them. But as the crowd hushed for the announcement, another unexpected voice broke through. The voice cut through the room like a knife, and Jason's heart plummeted as he turned towards its source. A tall figure stood at the podium, seemingly impervious to the weight of emotion saturating the air. It was the program director, ready to commence with a speech that no longer felt ceremonial, but rather invasive, exposing the tender nature of Jason and Leo's journey to a broader audience. Before we begin, let's take a moment to recognize the hard work of our young graduates, the director announced, scanning the room as if searching for someone to highlight. Jason's pulse quickened. He felt the spotlight shift onto them, a moment of vulnerability that felt as stifling as it was exhilarating. For it's a day for celebration, especially for the families who have supported these remarkable children.
The applause erupted, but for Jason, each clap reverberated with anxiety. He glanced at Leo, whose eyes were wide, absorbing the scene with innocent curiosity. As applause faded, the director continued speaking, but Jason's mind snapped back to the weeks they had spent together, signing and laughing. Would he have the courage to step into that space, to pull Leo into the burgeoning world outside his protective walls? He swallowed hard, hyper-aware of the myriad eyes in the room that seemed to turn his way, prodding him with unspoken expectations. Before he could second-guess his decision, Jason's feet were moving, guided by a fierce impulse. He stepped toward the podium, each stride a direct defiance of self-doubt. He lifted his palm, signaling Leo to follow. The boy looked at him, surprise flashing across his face, but then he mirrored his father's confidence, striding up to his side. As Jason turned to the audience, he felt a tremor in his voice, but also a growing confidence surging through him. This journey, this experience, has helped me realize how deeply valuable communication can be, how silence can't define who we are or what we can achieve together. Leo's small hand grasped Jason's tightly, grounding him as they stood there, exposed yet intertwined. The hearts in the room shifted. Perhaps they were no longer just spectators, but participants in a narrative about breaking barriers, one that might change perceptions about parental bonds shaped in silence. In that moment, everything Jason had learned began to cascade through him like a vibrant current. "I won't hide Leo from the world," he stated, skillfully signing the words as he spoke. "We are still discovering ourselves, and we invite you to join us on this journey of understanding. We are more than what you may think." An echo roared through the room, but it wasn't applause. Something deeper was shifting in the air, a collective release from the tension that held sway until now. Jason felt it, an almost palpable wave of acceptance washing over him and Leo. There was no pretense in their vulnerability. They were just a father and son, openly navigating their contours of love and adversity. However, uncertainty still gnawed at him. The audience may have felt the sincerity of their connection, but would it be enough to foster genuine change? Jason wrestled with those thoughts as the voices of parents, teachers, and fellow attendees began to meld into a distant hum. Would he expose Leo's burgeoning spark to potential biases? Would he ignite curiosity or judgment? As they retreated from the podium, a sinking realization took hold. This was just the beginning of their battle, their mutual understanding hidden but waiting in the wings. Later that evening, Jason stood alone in the workshop, grappling with an unsettling thought. He had taken a stand, but now it felt like an echo in the void. The truth remained that not everyone would look at Leo the same way. He needed a plan. Somehow, he would need to extend this newfound confidence beyond the safe walls of their garage and the confines of their neighborhood. Yet, just as he plotted his next move, he discovered something that sent chills down his spine. A note pinned to the workbench, with a single damning word scrolled across it: "Freak." Jason's breath caught, recognizing an urgent shift needed. The time had come to face not only the world, but the challenges within it that would test everything he had fought for. Jason's heart raced as he stared at the word "freak," its sharpness mocking his hopes. A sinking realization washed over him. There were forces ready to undermine everything he had been fighting for. The note felt like a grotesque shadow looming over his aspirations for Leo's acceptance, gnawing at his resolve to break through barriers rather than reinforce them. He clenched his fists, channeling his outrage into a renewed sense of purpose. The time for silence was over. He needed not only to defend Leo, but also to equip him with the skills necessary to navigate a world that might not always be kind. His focus sharpened. He had to turn this painful reminder of ignorance into a catalyst for progress. As night settled into the workshop, he began to formulate a plan. There had to be ways they could prepare, ways they could defy the ignorant preconceived notions that seemed to plague the minds of some around them. Transformative workshops could be integral, not just for Leo's communication, but for Jason's growth as an advocate. With every keystroke on his laptop, a sense of clarity took hold. He envisioned a series of joint activities that could reinforce Leo's skills and build confidence in both of them. This wasn't just about Leo learning to sign or communicate better. It was about helping him face the world with pride, unashamed of who he was. With Leo's graduation under his belt, he would enroll them both in classes, public speaking for himself and expressive sign language for Leo. They would practice together at home, turning the workshop, once a realm of solitary projects, into a vibrant space of shared growth. There was urgency now. Discipline would carve a path through challenges. As Jason extended his fingers over the keyboard, crafting emails for local community centers and learning institutions, doubt flickered in the back of his mind. What if they couldn't handle this? What if Leo struggled? Memories of laughter and shared achievements fought against that fear, buoying his spirit. He couldn't falter now. He had made a public commitment not just to Leo, but to the world around them. He imagined Leo's infectious laughter, the way it filled their home with light. Wouldn't it be incredible to have Leo be as proud of their practices as Jason was? He could also tap into the network of other parents, those who had faced similar battles. Gathering allies would fortify his cause. They might have seasoned advice, things he hadn't even considered.
With each paragraph he crafted, excitement replaced trepidation. This was not merely a project, but the cornerstone of a mission. They would break the silence together, forging connections where gaps had once been. Jason couldn't shake the feeling. He was starting to change. Yet even as the enthusiasm surged, he could not ignore the shadows lurking. The note taunted him, a single reminder that prejudices festered just beneath the surface. What if someone else took it upon themselves to circulate more explicit messages of hate? The uncertainty nagged, twisting in his stomach. Deep down, Jason knew one thing. The note had ignited a fierce desire within him, a determination to rise above the narrow-minded views that threatened to encircle them. He would not allow ignorance to dictate their journey. He finished the last sentence of his email and leaned back in the chair, staring at the screen. This was just the beginning of a long road ahead. As he hesitated over the send button, his resolve solidified. Jason clicked it, and a tingle ran through him, a mix of anticipation and fear. He awakened a new chapter in their lives, one rife with possibilities, but laced with impending challenges. Would the community embrace this new direction? Would they be willing to stand with them, or would fear and judgment rear their ugly heads again? Then, just as he began to process the implications of what he had done, a text flashed on his phone. An unexpected message from an old acquaintance, someone he hadn't spoken to in years. The simple question posed sent a shiver down his spine. How is Leo doing? I've heard things. Could the past come back to haunt him when he was just beginning to carve out a future? Jason's fingers froze over the keyboard as the implications of the text sank in. His mind raced. What had they heard? Whispers could shatter the delicate progress he'd worked so hard to build. Suddenly, the plan he had crafted began to wobble like a house of cards. He took a deep breath, scanning the workshop around him. Each corner held the imprint of their journey, the sketches of dreams pinned to the walls like trophies of determination. But now, those dreams seemed overshadowed by the specter of doubt.
He desperately needed clarity before the murky waters of judgment could drown him. His phone buzzed again, a reminder that he could no longer ignore. Slowly, he tapped out a response to his old acquaintance, testing the waters without revealing too much. "He's doing well, thanks for asking. What have you heard?" Once the message was sent, a knot formed in his stomach. Thoughts of Leo sold short by rumors were unbearable. He knew what Leo was. More importantly, he knew the value in feedback grounded in understanding versus ignorance. Wasn't that the entire point of the advocacy he had committed himself to? But what would happen if the past resurfaced, spiraling his plans into chaos? As the minutes dragged, he began to consider how he'd navigate this.
He needed allies, loud ones, who would amplify the voice they were trying so hard to build. Leo had a right to be proud, to stand unashamedly in his truth. But the thought of anyone potentially undermining that from the shadows felt unbearable. Jason grabbed his notebook, scribbling ideas for community outreach, listing parents he could turn to for support. Names swirled in his mind, each carrying with them the weight of shared experiences, victories, and tribulations. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about building a network strong enough to weather any storm. In a moment of inspiration, he decided to reach out to his old social media contacts. Could he establish something positive, perhaps a forum for those dealing with similar issues? If people could share their journeys, perhaps it would create a ripple effect of wisdom and support. Ideas poured onto the page: workshops, writing groups, public forums, anything to create visibility and crush the stigma of ignorance. With urgency fueling him, he quickly disentangled himself from the web of anxiety the old acquaintance had woven around him. Focus, Jason. Reach out, rather than withdraw. He had to put himself and Leo out into the world, built up, not pulled down by trepidation. Jason's phone finally chimed, a reply. Just that there are rumors going around. That vague statement was a backhanded invitation for Jason to confront whatever monsters lurked in the past. He weighed the options and decided to meet the acquaintance. Face-to-face might be the only way to dispel the whispered shadows threatening Leo's progress. In a matter of hours, he found himself in a coffee shop, tension and determination mingling in the air. As he lifted his cup, savoring the warm aroma, the door chimed. Standing at the entrance was a figure from his past, one who had known him back when everything seemed simpler, before Leo's diagnosis flipped their world inside out. The moment drew heavy as Jason recalled the conversations that had once felt innocent, now laden with ulterior motives. As they locked eyes, Jason felt the stakes rise dramatically. Could this meeting bring clarity, or would it spiral into a confrontation that forced him to question his own choices? The confrontation loomed ahead, and with it, an uncertain path toward the truth. Would he take the first step toward his past, or choose a different direction entirely to protect Leo? The decision awaited him, and tension filled the air like an electric charge, ready to explode. Jason's heart raced as he scrutinized the familiar figure crossing the threshold, a past that collided uncomfortably with his present. David's smile was an unsettling blend of nostalgia and something else, something sharp, that sent a pulse of apprehension coursing through Jason's veins. The truth lingered just beyond their exchanged pleasantries, a gaping maw of unresolved tension glowing in the air. They settled into a corner table, the clatter of coffee cups and murmurs only amplifying the silence swelling between them. Jason took a deep breath, centering himself, willing the thoughts crowding his mind to simmer down. This wasn't a friendly catch-up, it was a high-stakes negotiation. "What's been happening with Leo?" David asked, a casual facade barely masking his scrutiny. Jason noticed the way David leaned in slightly, almost as if waiting for a confessional. "Leo is doing better than ever," Jason replied, summoning conviction into his voice.
But I hear there are rumors making the rounds, something about his progress. The way he bore down on that last word revealed a hint of his resolve. He wasn't merely going to tiptoe around the subject. David's expression shifted, defensive lines carving into his forehead. Just whispers, you know how it is. People love to gossip, especially when it comes to things they don't understand, he said, trying to lighten the mood. No, Jason countered firmly, disappointment curling in his chest. It's not just gossip. It impacts real lives, real progress. A moment of silence hung heavily between them. Jason could sense David's willingness to deflect, to revert to the comfort of light banter, but he couldn't afford such complacency. The specter of doubt was real and tangible, and it threatened to unravel the work he had tirelessly built with Leo. I'm not here to play games, David. If you've heard something, you need to tell me. I won't let Leo's journey suffer because of shadows or misunderstandings. Jason's assertiveness shocked even him, a reminder of how far he had come in his advocacy. The moral dilemma of disclosing his fears worried at him like a dog with a bone. Would he be exposing Leo, inviting unwanted scrutiny into their lives? A flicker of something akin to respect crossed David's face, and with it came a shift in dynamics. David glanced around, clearly weighing his next words. Look, I care about you both, and what I know isn't pretty. Jason's stomach churned, grappling with anxiety as he braced himself. Just tell me, for Leo's sake. David leaned back in his chair, almost absently toying with his cup. People have been questioning Leo's abilities. There are talks of his limitations. It's unfair and it's uninformed, but the whispers, they're there. Quickly, Jason's mind began racing with options. He could feel the urgency within him, a desire to transform this revelation into an opportunity. He needed a strategic approach, a way to convert the danger of these rumors into advocacy, into strength. What if I changed the narrative? The words tumbled out of Jason's mouth before he could stop them, emboldened by the rush of the conversation. What if I organized something, workshops, discussions to change perspectives? David raised an eyebrow, surprise flickering. You think they'll come? Yes, Jason felt a spark ignite inside him. If I can rally support, showcase Leo's capabilities, share our journey, I could turn this around. The possibility unfolded before him, a plan forming under the weight of a critical revelation. Their conversation shifted, morphing from defense to collaboration. As they discussed logistics and strategies, Jason felt renewed determination flood through him. He was no longer merely protecting his son. He was as resolute as the advocate he aspired to be, ready to methodically dismantle the old narrative. But the tension still lingered. Would he be able to convince others to embrace an unfiltered truth? As he prepared to leave the coffee shop, Jason's heart thrummed with both anticipation and fear. Would this newfound strategy be enough to steer them through the storm? Just as he stepped out into the bustling street, Jason received a text. A name flashed across the screen. Someone who had been silent for far too long, but held significant influence in the community. The moment had arrived to approach the next vital connection. Feeling the heat of determination coursing through him, Jason's journey was about to take another turn. He couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter might either elevate or unravel everything he was building. The sun hung low in the sky as Jason navigated through the thrumming bustle of the street. He barely registered the bustling crowd, his mind a swirling tempest of thoughts and plans. The text on his phone pulsed like a beacon. Emily, that resourceful ally whose insights had always propelled him forward. She could be a pivotal figure in his mission to redefine Leo's narrative. His heartbeat quickened as he pondered their upcoming discussion. It felt risky, but an undercurrent of excitement thrummed in his chest.
Jason had spent too much time treading cautiously. This time, he would pierce through the fog of uncertainty. Finding Emily wouldn't merely be a casual conversation. It was an opportunity to awaken potential and unlock resources both he and Leo desperately needed. Taking a deep breath, he recentered his focus on what mattered. His unique perspective as a father fighting for his son forged a strength he hadn't known existed. This meeting could be transformative, exposing a secret hidden beneath the layers of doubt that had trailed him since Leo's diagnosis. Could Emily become his partner in advocacy? He reached the small cafe where Emily often worked. As he entered, the cloud of familiar aromas swept over him. The rich scent of coffee mingled with the sweetness of baked goods. He spotted her at a back table, a stack of papers spread before her, scribbling notes. He waved, and a smile broke across her face, warming him from within. "Jason, I didn't think you'd drop by." Emily gestured for him to join her. Her enthusiasm was a refreshing contrast to the nervous energy that buzzed inside him. "I had something important to discuss," he said, sitting down and taking a moment to gauge the atmosphere. "It's about Leo."
Her expression shifted, curiosity dawning. What's going on? Jason took a steadying breath, struggling to convert the ocean of anxiety into articulate words. "I need your help. There are rumors, doubts about Leo's capabilities circulating, and I want to address them head on. I want to showcase his skills, to change how people view him." Emily listened intently, her eyes alight with understanding. "You're right to tackle it," she nodded, "but how do you plan on doing that?" He slid forward a chaotic mix of thoughts he jotted down earlier, a potential workshop aimed at redefining perceptions, interactive sessions that could bridge the gap between misunderstanding and awareness. I envision something engaging, where people can see Leo not just as a child with limitations, but as a boy bursting with talent. I need your expertise in crafting the message that truly resonates. For a moment, a shadow flickered across Emily's face, an essential hesitation. "That's ambitious, Jason. People hold deeply ingrained beliefs, and changing perceptions is harder than it seems. Have you really thought this through?" Yes, his unexpected resoluteness startled him. "I refuse to allow ignorance to determine Leo's trajectory anymore. It's not just about what I want, it's about what he deserves." "Passion alone isn't enough," she remarked, weighing her next words carefully. "But it can be a driving force. We need to meticulously craft this narrative. Let's focus on the community's needs while showcasing Leo. Connect their doubts with the realities of his existence." Her insights hit home, igniting a sense of clarity that he hungered for. Together, they could curve the trajectory of the conversation away from limitations, advocating for understanding instead. Jason's pulse quickened. This was the start of something vital. He had always known Leo was extraordinary, but now he could communicate that to others. With Emily's skills, they might just shatter the oppressive ceiling of misunderstanding. As they sketched out plans, an alarming thought clawed at Jason's mind. The deeper he plunged into this initiative, the more eyes would inevitably be watching, scrutinizing both Leo and himself. What if this newfound ambition backfired? But that uncertainty gave him fuel. He realized the risk was not failing. It was failing to try, to advocate fiercely for his son as he had done until now. Embracing the tension was the only way forward. As their ideas flowed, Jason could feel a shift, not just in their strategy, but within himself. He was no longer just a worried father. He was an advocate, ready to change the framework of understanding that ensnared his son. At that moment, his phone vibrated again with another message, intensifying the swell of anticipation. He hesitated, then glanced at the screen, the name sending shockwaves through him. David had messaged him back, asking to meet. Jason's heart raced with both excitement and trepidation.
The time had come to face the very whispers that threatened everything he was building. Would this be the confrontation that could seal Leo's future? Jason's thoughts churned to a standstill as the realization settled over him. David wanted to meet. The implications of this meeting ricocheted through his mind, each thought more electrifying than the last. David was a significant player in the local community, one whose opinions held weight. If he chose to stand alongside Jason and Leo's cause, the impact could be monumental. Yet, if he opposed, the rumors could morph into full-blown narratives that would undermine everything Jason had just begun to forge. "Are you okay?" Emily's voice cut through his tempest of anxiety. She had been watching him, concern etched on her features. "Yeah, it's just, I need to get ready for the meeting with David," Jason muttered, his heart still hammering in his chest. "The one who's been spreading doubts?" she asked. Nodding, Jason felt a twinge of dread, coupled with eagerness. "I think I might be able to convince him. If he hears me out, perhaps he would understand Leo better. But if he doesn't—" Emily leaned forward and locked eyes with him, urgency in her tone. "Then it's doubly important you come prepared. This isn't just about Leo anymore. It's about changing directors of the narrative. You need to showcase Leo's potential and needs to someone who hasn't seen either. Have you thought about what you will say?" Jason pondered her words, the uncertainty re-emerging. "What if he doesn't listen? What if I fail?" "In that case, you'll be armed with the facts. Show him how bright Leo's light shines. People can't argue with reality." Emily's confidence spilled into Jason like a warm stream on a chilly day. It fortified his resolve. He was in the middle of crafting not just a new dialogue for his son, but an entire new identity, one that could break through the barriers that seemed insurmountable. They brainstormed techniques to convey Leo's truth. They forged narratives centered on achievements, highlighting the subtle yet profound victories he had won in speech, creativity, and perseverance. As Jason scribbled ideas that encompassed Leo's essence, he felt a well of pride swell inside him. What they discussed became more than just strategy. It became a testament to the love he had for Leo. A father's determination was a dangerous fire, and Jason felt it roaring to life. "Maybe we can even prepare a visual demonstration," Emily suggested. "Show corner cases where Leo excelled, not just what he cannot do, but all the things he can. If we present data instead of anecdotes, it might bridge the gap David created in his mind." "That's brilliant!" Jason felt a surge of energy. "Yes, I can gather some of Leo's work and personal stories from his teachers. Real conversations could lend authenticity." The thought of presenting Leo's journey in a tangible way inspired vigor. This was the kind of advocacy Jason had always imagined. A space where honesty fused with compassion, lighting a way forward. After hours of collaboration, Jason emerged from the cafe feeling charged and ready. Emily was his ally, illuminating shadows he hadn't realized existed. He could win David over and ignite a series of conversations about understanding. Those conversations could turn into significant changes. As he walked back to his car, a hopeful determination replaced the weight of doubt. The odds still felt daunting, but he recognized that fear would no longer dictate his actions. That became increasingly clear as Jason reached into his pocket and felt the weight of his phone, an anchor tethered to reality. He opened the message again, reviewing the timeline for their meeting. "Tomorrow," he muttered under his breath, the potential of what could spring from it quaking through him. But just as confidence washed over him, a sinking doubt resurfaced. What if he misjudged David? What if in trying to illuminate Leo's skills, he inadvertently highlighted his shortcomings? Suddenly, the road ahead became murky again. Did he have what it took to truly advocate for Leo's future against such established skepticism?
Tomorrow he would find out if he had the answers. The looming confrontation felt like a final exam, except this wasn't just grades on a paper. It was Leo's future hanging in the balance. As his resolve sharpened, Jason could almost see it, a breakthrough that could redefine everything. But with every heartbeat, he felt a gnawing anxiety creeping back in. Would this meeting truly be the pivotal moment he envisioned, or would it unveil weaknesses he hadn't yet confronted? With equal parts anticipation and dread, he realized the answer lay just around the corner. Tomorrow would be a day to confront not only David, but the doubts within himself that lingered like stubborn fog. The evening stretched thin, each tick of the clock amplifying Jason's inner turmoil. Alone in his office, he methodically arranged the sheets of paper, photographs, and letters he had gathered throughout his preparation. Each piece represented a slice of Leo's world, a world where he thrived but had remained largely unseen due to misunderstanding. No longer willing to let ignorance dictate the narrative, Jason focused. Though he could hear the quiet hum of traffic outside, his mind was a tempest of thoughts. He visualized the encounter with David, dissecting imaginary dialogues, practicing responses to anticipated objections. But one haunting fear remained unaddressed. What if he failed? The fear of that potential collapse loomed larger. The stakes weren't purely academic, they were personal and intimate, a father's desperate quest for his son's rightful place in life. He realized he had to shift the fear into action. Drawing deep breaths, Jason anchored himself to a place of purpose. The test was not only against David, but against the assumptions that had plagued him since Leo was born. The presumption of inadequacy that had become almost a default response to Leo's challenges would no longer suffocate his growth. He was determined to craft a presentation of pure evidence that defied the negativity surrounding his son's abilities. With renewed determination, Jason grabbed the first batch of papers, Leo's art. It had begun as simple doodles, but now it was so much more. Each piece captured an emotional depth that unfolded Leo's perspective on joy and beauty. "What if I present art as a means of communication?" he muttered to himself, envisioning David's reaction. Art had no barriers, no language but that of the heart. Perhaps it would serve as a powerful introduction to Leo's essence. Flipping through the photographs taken at school events, Jason meticulously pieced together stories detailing Leo's triumphs. The time he taught his classmates basic sign language. The moment he inspired his friends with a story he crafted about space exploration, layered with themes of inclusion and acceptance. Each moment was a building block toward a compelling narrative, showcasing the brilliance that flourished under every word of encouragement. The night deepened, and with every detail laid out, Jason felt inextricably bound to these glimpses of Leo's world. What had once appeared as lowercase victories transformed into grand declarations of capabilities. He was no longer merely preparing for a meeting. He was embracing the role of a storyteller who would present Leo not just as a son, but as an extraordinary individual rich with qualities that deserved acknowledgement far beyond the confines of misunderstanding. As dawn painted the early morning sky, the weight of self-doubt stubbornly lingered in the corners of his mind. What if David remained unmoved? With emotions swirling, Jason forced himself to step out of the narrative of fear. Standing in front of the mirror, he reminded himself of the man he had become, a man who would not back down, who believed fiercely in the brilliance of his son. This wasn't mere advocacy. It was a declaration of love, resilience, and unwavering support. Clutching the carefully arranged materials, Jason headed out, heart thudding against his chest. This was the moment he had prepared for. As he approached the meeting space, the familiar gnawing within him intensified. David's response could either propel them into a new era of understanding or pull them back into the shadowlands of doubt. But Jason knew that irrespective of the outcome, he was no longer alone. He had rendered his fears transparent through confrontation. He was equipped not merely with documents, but with Leo's story, a story that needed telling. Just as he steeled himself for the upcoming moment, his phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a message from Leo's teacher, sharing unexpected insights into Leo's latest project that he hadn't anticipated. Heart racing, Jason read it as the chill of uncertainty wrestled with the warmth of hope. Would this message provide the final piece he needed? The junction was upon him, anticipation mingling with dread as he stepped forward. The time had come to face not only David, but the demons lurking within himself. As Jason stepped into the coffee shop, the scent of freshly brewed coffee melded with the low hum of conversations circulating the room. He spotted David, leaning casually against the counter, but the air between them felt anything but relaxed. Jason's stomach churned, the weight of their last interaction looming large in his mind. Today wasn't just another meeting. It carried the potential to reshape the narrative surrounding Leo. He took a deep breath, exhaling any lingering anxiety. This wasn't merely about standing up for his son. It was a transformative moment where Jason would show the world Leo's brilliance. A tinge of purpose inflected his stride as he approached David, his heart steadying with resolve. "Thanks for meeting with me, David," Jason began, open yet direct. He wasted no time. "I know there are doubts thriving in our community about Leo, and I'm here to address them head on." David's gaze remained skeptical, but curiosity flickered behind it. "I think people just worry, you know? They're not sure how to interact with kids who are different." Jason nodded, feeling the sting of that word, different. This was where he would pivot the conversation, steering it towards strength. "That's exactly the issue. I want to show you and anyone else listening that Leo is capable of thriving, that he has so much potential just waiting to be understood. He's more than just his diagnosis." With that declaration, Jason unfurled the materials he had meticulously prepared. Photos, artwork, detailed letters from teachers outlining Leo's academic and social successes. They all contributed to a tapestry showcasing Leo's capabilities. He narrated their journey, speaking with a passion that dismantled the silence they had lived in for too long. As Jason spoke, he witnessed David's expression shift, from skepticism to contemplation, and for a fleeting moment, there was a glimmer of understanding. The anecdotes Jason shared painted a vivid picture of Leo's life, a life rich with creativity, intelligence, and potential. "Here's something we did at school. Leo inspired his classmates to create a storytelling project about astronauts," Jason noted, displaying a children's book co-authored by Leo. "His imagination knows no bounds. Stories are a bridge, David. They lead us to connection." He glanced at David, gauging his reaction, and saw a slow nod, a sign of recognition that their silence no longer had to be a void, but a dialogue filled with understanding. Amidst the gathering energy, Jason continued, "My intention isn't just to advocate for Leo, but to advocate for breaking through misconceptions. If we unite as a community, we can mold perceptions toward acceptance and respect." David, contemplative, furrowed his brow, processing his own experiences within the context Jason laid bare. "I never thought about it that way," he admitted slowly. Jason felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "There are possibilities for growth," Jason urged. "We can host workshops, create forums for parents to engage in conversations that revolve around understanding. Let's initiate discussions that unveil the beauty of diversity." As Jason laid out his vision, he saw the pivot in David's eyes. It was a slow, illuminating realization that perhaps the shadows of doubt could be transformed into pathways of acceptance. "Let me help," David finally said, his voice steady but tinged with surprise at his own admission. "We can talk to the Parents Association. I can set up sessions where everyone can share what they don't understand, their fears and reservations. It's a good idea, Jason." Jason's heart soared. Each word felt like another brick laid in the foundation they were both building, an advocacy rooted in empathy, courage, and understanding. With renewed optimism, they delved deeper, brainstorming ways to reframe the narrative completely so that misconceptions gave way to awareness. It became evident. This was their first conversation of many, a ripple that could launch a broader transformation in community perspectives. Walking away from that meeting, Jason felt a buoyant release. The anxiety that had coiled tightly around him was now replaced with an invigorating sense of accomplishment. Nothing could erase the shadows of ignorance entirely, but he had consciously stepped into the light and paused the cycle of prejudice concerning Leo. Things could change. Upon raising deep awareness about Leo's capabilities, he felt a surge of pride, both for his son and the progress of their relationship. There was still work ahead, but they had made a real dent in the fabric of misunderstanding, crafting a richer dialogue ensconced in humanity and love. As the weeks rolled into months, Jason reflected on the staggering distance they'd traveled. Leo had begun to thrive, not just in academics, but in social settings, gaining confidence daily. Their rooms were now filled with conversations, laughter, and aspirations beyond barriers of silence. The most powerful resolution that Jason experienced was recognizing that what had once felt insurmountable now lay well within reach. He stood as an advocate, not just for Leo, but for a fresh perspective that would turn prejudice into understanding. And in shape-shifting the narrative, he discovered the profound satisfaction at the heart of every small success, the triumphs that defined his guiding purpose. With established confidence, Jason felt his past fears behind him, replaced with eagerness for the next chapter of their journey. No longer burdened by doubts, he emerged empowered, ready to shape a brighter future for Leo.
This was an ending, yet entirely a beginning. The difficult road of acceptance paved with resolve, determination, and ultimately love. If you resonate with Jason's journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to stimulate the algorithm so others can discover these transformative stories. Comment your thoughts on how Jason's story affected you or what resonates with your personal experiences. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Together, we can change perceptions.